Funny, isn't it? You drag yourself through the dirt, through the screams, through the nights where the walls feel like they're closing in, only to find out it was all just a test. Not the first, not the second, the last. You ever wonder why it feels the heaviest right before you give up? Why everything seems to fall apart just when you think you're getting close? It's because the final test isn't about what you can lift or what you can take. It's about what you'll become when there's nothing left to carry but yourself. They don't tell you that, do they? No. They want you to think it's about following the rules, smiling when it hurts, clapping along while you bleed inside. But deep down, you know, the real test is whether you'll still stand when there's no applause, no audience, no safety net, when the only voice you hear is the one whispering, "Keep going." They tell you it's supposed to get easier, don't they? That if you do the right things, follow the right path, smile at the right people, everything will fall into place like some neat little puzzle. But what they don't tell you, what they're too scared to admit, is that the pressure, the crushing, unbearable weight, it gets worse right before the breakthrough. It's like the universe is laughing in your face, daring you to quit, when you're just inches away from what you've been bleeding for. You see, the ones who make it, they're not the ones who never doubted, never stumbled, never cried themselves to sleep. They're the ones who kept moving even when the ground beneath them cracked open like a bad joke. They're the ones who didn't let the pressure turn them into dust. No, they let it turn them into something unrecognizable, something dangerous, something the world wasn't ready for. You think diamonds are born in peace? You think legends are made in comfort? No. They are hammered, crushed, burned, and still they shine. The pressure is the point. It's not some sick mistake. It's the final punch to the gut before you break through the wall that's been standing between you and everything you were too scared to grab with both hands. Most people fold. They start to question why it's so hard, why everything feels heavier the closer they get. They think maybe it's a sign to turn back, to shrink, to apologize for daring to dream bigger than the little cage they were born into. But you're smarter than that. You see the pattern. You know that the storm gets violent right before the skies clear. To game. A sick, twisted one, sure, but it's still a game. The pressure's there to see what's really inside you. It's easy to talk about strength when there's no weight on your shoulders. It's easy to preach about hope when everything's going right. But what about when the walls are closing in and you can barely breathe? What about when every voice in your head is screaming to quit? That's when the real you steps forward. That's when the masks fall off. Most people don't want to see that part. They want the highlight reel, the victory lap, the smiling photos after the storm. But the truth, the beautiful, brutal truth, is that greatness is born in the moments when everything hurts and you keep going anyway. The pressure isn't your enemy, it's your proof. Proof that you're close, proof that what you're fighting for is worth it. If it didn't matter, it wouldn't be this hard. If it wasn't important, you wouldn't feel like you're being ripped apart from the inside out. Pressure reveals what comfort hides. Pressure shows you your limits so you can tear them down with your bare hands. It exposes your weaknesses so you can destroy them before they destroy you. It turns your excuses into ashes. It's not there to stop you. It's there to build you, to mold you into something that can't be broken, can't be bought, can't be silenced. You think you're under attack? Good. That means you're onto something. That means the old version of you is dying, kicking and screaming because it knows it's being replaced by something stronger. I don't warn you about this part because most people never get here. They quit at the first sign of discomfort. They run back to safety the moment the heat turns up. But you're not most people. You're still standing. Bloodied, bruised, maybe barely holding on, but you're still here. And that's more than most can say. The pressure is the final gatekeeper. The last cruel laugh before the world is forced to take you seriously. It's the last monster standing between you and everything you've ever wanted. You can either let it crush you, or you can use it. Let it sharpen your mind, let it carve your instincts into weapons, let it teach you that there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stop someone who refuses to break. Every second you hold on under that weight, you're getting closer. Every breath you take when it feels like you're suffocating, you're proving that you're made of something different, something rare. Most people, they'll never know what that feels like. They'll never know the kind of pressure that comes when you're inches away from everything you've ever dreamed of. They'll live small, safe lives, and they'll call it happiness, but not you. You didn't come this far to turn back now. You didn't survive the storms just to drown in the rain. The greatest pressure always comes right before the breakthrough, because that's when you're closest to shattering the chains they put around you. That's when you're inches from tearing down the walls they said you'd never get past. Isolation, it's funny, isn't it? You think it's a punishment. You think when the calls stop coming, when the friends vanish, when the invitations dry up like a puddle under a cruel sun, that it means you did something wrong. You think you've been abandoned because you weren't good enough, bright enough, lovable enough. But maybe, just maybe, isolation isn't the universe kicking you out. Maybe it's dragging you away to sharpen you in secret. You see, growth doesn't happen under a spotlight. Greatness doesn't bloom while you're busy being everyone's favorite. No, real change, real evolution, it happens when the room falls silent. When you're sitting there with nothing but your own breathing, your own heartbeat, your own dark thoughts clawing at the walls. That's when the magic begins. That's when the masks fall off and you meet the creature you really are underneath all the... They don't tell you this because it would terrify you. The truth is, most people cling to the noise because they're scared to hear what the silence has to say. They fill every second with distractions, with meaningless chatter, with half friends and fake smiles just to avoid facing the fact that they have no idea who they are without the world propping them up. But isolation? Oh, isolation strips all that away. It yanks the stage out from under you and forces you to perform for an audience of one, yourself. At first it feels like death. Like the world has swallowed you whole and spat you into some forgotten corner. You pace around, you scream into pillows, you look up at the ceiling and demand answers that never come. You feel small, you feel invisible. But that's part of the design. You're being carved out, gutted of all the weak, flimsy parts you used to think made you strong. You're being emptied, hollowed, prepared for something the noisy world could never handle. People who vanish, they were never going to stay anyway. The opportunities that dried up, they were never yours to begin with. The doors that slammed in your face, they were leading to cages dressed up as castles. Isolation rips away the illusion so you can finally see clearly. And what you see, it's not pretty at first. You see your insecurities, your failures, your weaknesses laid bare in the cold light of day. But you also see the embers, the burning pieces inside you that the noise never let you notice. And that's when it clicks. Isolation isn't here to bury you, it's here to birth you. It's preparing you for rooms that would have swallowed you whole if you entered too soon. It's toughening your skin, sharpening your mind, hardening your spirit into something that doesn't need applause to feel worthy, that doesn't need permission to be powerful. It teaches you how to walk alone, how to think alone, how to win alone. And once you learn that, no one can ever take it from you. You become untouchable, unpredictable. You stop chasing after crowds that would have trampled you if you caught up. You realize the real ones, the ones who will walk with you through fire, they don't need a spotlight to find you. They'll find you in the dark, when you're standing tall in the ruins everyone else was too scared to enter. Isolation makes you dangerous, not in the way they paint villains, but in the way that unsettles the comfortable. You stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being easy to distract. You stop being easy to break. The world can throw its worst at you, and you'll just smile because you already survived something worse, facing yourself. They won't understand when you come back different. They'll call you cold, distant, arrogant even. They'll whisper about how much you've changed, how they miss the old version of you. But what they really miss is the you they could control, the you that needed them to feel complete. That version of you had to die, and isolation was the executioner. The longer you stay in the silence, the clearer your vision becomes. You start to see the moves before they happen. You start to hear the lies under their smiles. You start to build without broadcasting, winning without asking for permission. They won't see you coming. They'll be too busy laughing at the empty seat you left behind. And by the time they realize the storm that's building in the shadows, it'll be too late. You'll already be too far ahead, too strong to stop, too forged by fire to fear anything that breathes. Isolation wasn't a punishment, it was a prophecy. It was the cocoon wrapping around you, giving you the space to destroy what was small and build what was unstoppable. Pain, it's a funny little thing, isn't it? Everyone's so terrified of it, they run from it like it's some kind of monster hiding under the bed. They spend their lives numbing it, denying it, pretending it doesn't exist. They pop pills, drown in drinks, scroll their lives away just to stay one step ahead of the sting. But what they don't realize is pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the gatekeeper to everything they say they want, but aren't brave enough to bleed for. See, pain doesn't come to destroy you. No, it's far too clever for that. Pain comes to crack you open, to tear apart the pretty little lies you tell yourself, to drag every weakness you tried to hide into the burning light so you have no choice but to deal with it. You can't fake it when you're in pain. You can't smile your way out. Pain strips you bare, leaves you raw, exposed, trembling, and that's when the real work begins. It falls from your face like it's some kind of punishment, like you did something wrong to deserve it. But the truth is, pain is the proof you're alive. It's the proof you're growing. It's the fire that melts away the plastic layers you've been wearing for so long you forgot what your real skin feels like. No change ever happens without it. No transformation is born from comfort. The caterpillar doesn't get to sleepwalk into becoming a butterfly. It has to tear itself apart first. It has to die to everything it thought it was. And you're no different. You think you're being punished because life hurts? You think the universe hates you because you cry yourself to sleep at night, wondering if it's ever going to get better? What if I told you that pain is the best thing that ever happened to you? What if I told you that every scream, every tear, every sleepless night is building something inside you that comfort never could? Strength doesn't come from sunny days and soft pillows. It's forged in the chaos. It's hammered out on the anvil of suffering. Most people will never find their true strength because they run from pain the second it taps them on the shoulder. They want the rewards without the scars. They want the throne without surviving the war. They don't understand that pain is the price of admission. You want power, you want freedom, you want to be untouchable, then you better learn to sit with your pain, to breathe through it, to let it teach you, mold you, sharpen you into something the world can't handle. Pain isn't random, it's precise. It shows up exactly where you need it most. It targets the lies you're living, the fears you're feeding, the weaknesses you're hiding behind. It points a ruthless spotlight on the areas you pretend are broken. And if you're smart, if you're crazy enough, you'll lean into it. You'll stop running. You'll let the pain do its job. It's not about becoming numb, it's about becoming real. It's about letting the pain burn away everything that's false until what's left is pure, indestructible, undeniable. It's about taking every hit, every betrayal, every heartbreak, and using them as fuel. They thought the pain would break you. They thought it would be the end of you. What they didn't realize was that pain is how legends are born. You don't get to choose whether or not pain visits you. It's coming, whether you're ready or not. The only thing you get to choose is what you do when it knocks on your door. You can either crumble under its weight, or you can open the door, invite it in, and let it rebuild you into something they never saw coming. People love to talk about becoming their best selves, but they whisper about the parts where they had to fall apart first. They show you the trophies but not the bloody knuckles. They sing about the sunrise, but stay silent about the endless nights they thought would never end. But that's where the real story is. Pain doesn't care about your plans. Pain doesn't care about your excuses. Pain comes to strip you down to your core and ask you one simple question. Who are you really? When there's nothing left to hide behind. Most people don't like their answer. Most people break. But the ones who don't, the ones who stare into the abyss and smile, they come back different. They come back dangerous. They come back ready to tear down the world if it dares to stand in their way. Pressure, it's a beautiful little monster, isn't it? Most people flinch when they feel it. They scramble to escape. They beg for the weight to be lifted like helpless children crying for a savior. But pressure Pressure is a gift wrapped in a nightmare. It doesn't come to crush you. No, it comes to carve you into something the world cannot ignore. You think diamonds just happen by accident? You think greatness just strolls through the door because you whispered some affirmations into a mirror? No, no, no. Diamonds are made under pressure so vicious it would shatter weaker things into dust. Steel isn't born in soft gardens under warm sunshine. It's forged in the belly of a furnace, screaming under the heat, beaten into shape by merciless blows until it becomes something unbreakable. And you think you're any different? You dream of being powerful, untouchable, unforgettable, but the moment the walls start closing in, the moment the heat gets turned up, you start looking for exits. You want the crown without surviving the execution. You want the fire without walking through the flames. But pressure, real pressure, is the universe's way of asking, are you serious or are you just pretending? You see, pressure reveals what comfort hides. It's easy to talk about loyalty, ambition, courage when everything's going your way. It's easy to put on a brave face when the stakes are low and the lights are flattering. But let the walls cave in a little, let the floor crack under your feet, let your so-called friends start whispering when you're not around. And suddenly the truth spills out. Suddenly the masks don't fit anymore. Pressure peels you back, layer by painful layer, until all that's left is the real you, standing there naked and trembling in the storm. Most people don't survive that. Most people beg for mercy. Most people tap out long before they ever see what they're truly made of, but not you. If you're hearing this, if you're breathing through the ache, if you're standing in the rubble of your comfortable little life wondering what the hell is happening, congratulations. You're closer than you've ever been to the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Pressure doesn't want to destroy you, it wants to crown you. It's preparing you for thrones too heavy for cowards to carry. It's stretching your capacity, building muscles you didn't even know existed. Every second you stay standing, every second you refuse to quit, you're becoming something rare, something dangerous, something the world isn't ready for. They'll tell you it's too much. They'll tell you you're being punished. They'll whisper that you should just settle, just give in, just crawl back to the easy life they chose for themselves. But deep down, you'll know the truth. Easy is a trap. Comfort is a drug. Safety is a lie. You weren't built for small lives and quiet defeats. You were built to endure the kind of pressure that turns bones into weapons and hearts into engines of revolution. There's a certain beauty in breaking and refusing to stay broken, in feeling the weight of the world on your chest and laughing through the pain, in waking up every day in the middle of a battlefield and daring to believe that victory still belongs to you. That's what pressure creates. Not soft, fragile souls who need applause to survive, but monsters in the best sense of the word, unstoppable. Pressure doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It kicks the door down when you least expect it, drags you out of your comfort zone by the throat, and dares you to either evolve or evaporate. It's not personal. It's not cruel. It's just how greatness is made. The sooner you stop fighting it, the sooner you stop crying about how unfair it is, the sooner you realize that pressure isn't your enemy. It's your architect. It's sketching out the blueprints of a life bigger than the small dreams you were taught to settle for. It's hammering out the weak parts, sanding down the insecurities, sharpening the edges you tried to smooth over to make yourself more palatable to people who were never meant to understand you. Most will never get it. Most will break under the strain and spend the rest of their lives telling themselves and anyone who listened that the pressure was too much, that it wasn't their fault. But you're not most people. You were born to carry the weight. You were born to turn it into fuel. You were born to turn it into fuel. You were born to turn it into fuel. You were born to thrive inside it. You ever get that feeling like the universe is trying to whisper something in your ear, but the room's too loud? Everything around you buzzing, scrolling, shouting, and underneath it all, there's this urgency. Not panic, not chaos, something colder, quieter, like a knock on the inside of your ribs. You try to ignore it, of course, numb it, distract yourself with the usual noise likes, time links, the fake smiles, sugar-coated doom. But it doesn't stop. It just waits. And it's not asking for your attention anymore. It's demanding you wake up, eyes open. But you're not really awake, are you? You're already scrolling, already plugged in, already digesting the static. And somewhere between the flickering screens and the caffeine-fueled routine, you miss it. The voice. Not loud. Not dramatic. Not the booming kind people expect when they imagine God talking. It's subtle. Like a glitch in the rhythm. Like your spirit just flinched. Did. It felt something. And you ignored it because that's what we're taught to do. Numb the signal. Normalize the silence. Dismiss the divine as imagination and call the noise reality. You ever wonder why people are so uncomfortable with stillness? Why we blast music in empty rooms? Why we drown ourselves in distractions? Because silence is where the truth starts to leak through. And the truth, it's not always kind. Sometimes the truth wrecks your illusions. Sometimes it sets fire to everything you built on lies. And people don't want that. They want comfort. But God doesn't call you into comfort. He calls you into clarity, into confrontation, into war with yourself. Now, when I say God needs to talk to you, people get nervous. They picture punishment, judgment. But what if the real danger is not listening? What if the warning isn't fire from the sky, it's the slow rot of your potential? The decay of the parts of you that were meant to lead, to build, to transform, rotting away in the dungeon of delay. Because you were too afraid to pick up the call. Because you thought it would come later. After the job. After the relationship. After the fear goes away. But here's the problem with waiting for fear to leave. It doesn't. It adapts. It gets smarter. It finds new costumes. And while you're busy negotiating with your demons, time keeps moving. And God is still waiting. But not forever. Let's make something clear. This isn't about religion. This is about reality. The kind you feel, even if you can't explain it. That gut pull that shows up at 2 a.m. when everything else fades. That flash of purpose that hits in the middle of doing something you hate. That shiver in your chest when someone says something that accidentally aligns with the thing you've been trying to bury. That's the knock, the call, and it's not asking for permission anymore. It's funny. People will ignore 99 signs but follow one compliment. They'll reject truth if it makes them uncomfortable but embrace lies if it strokes their ego. They want affirmation without transformation. Want God to speak, but only if He says what they already want to hear. But that's not how this works. When He speaks, He doesn't stroke your pride, He shatters it. He doesn't ask, "Are you ready?" He tells you it's time. Not later. Not when you're perfect. Not when you're popular right now. In the middle of your mess. While you still think you're not qualified. Because that's the moment He shows up, not when you're impressive, but when you're real. So why now? Why you? Because something in you won't stay silent anymore. You've been pretending, playing small, hiding behind old stories. But your spirit's been restless, agitated, not by accident, by design. You're not being punished. You're being summoned. And the things that used to satisfy you, they don't hit the same. The people that used to validate you, they feel foreign now. That's not depression. That's evolution. That's your old self starting to break apart because your real self is starting to emerge. You think you're losing your mind. Maybe. But maybe you're just shedding the version of yourself that was built to survive instead of lead. And that's not a breakdown, it's an awakening. Painful, of course. Clarity always is, but necessary. Because if you keep ignoring the voice, it doesn't stop calling. It just starts calling. Louder through chaos, through loss, through the ache of mediocrity. Until eventually the life you settle for becomes so loud you have to listen. Or be consumed by you. Ever wonder why everything around you feels rigged? Like no matter how hard you try, no matter how deep you breathe or how many books you read, something keeps pulling you back into the same dull rhythm. It's like living in a cage made of clocks and opinions. You wake up, brush your teeth, smile like a puppet, pretend everything's fine, all while your soul is sure screaming into a void that nobody even hears. That's not burnout. That's not laziness. That's the side effect of being called for more while being forced to exist in less. You see, when God starts moving in your life, He doesn't send a letter in the mail. He doesn't knock on your door with a halo and a harp. No. He starts by making the ordinary feel unbearable. Things that used to excite you, they rot in your hands. Conversations that once felt safe suddenly feel fake. The mask gets heavy. The routine becomes suffocating. That's how you know it's starting. The unraveling, the disruption, the holy chaos. Not to destroy you, but to strip away what can't follow you into the next chapter. That ache you carry, that quiet little ache that no one sees but you feel in the back of your throat when you're alone, that's not weakness. That's alignment. That's the tension between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Most people numb that feeling. They call it stress, anxiety, hormones, whatever helps them avoid the truth. But the truth doesn't care if it makes you uncomfortable. It's not here to be liked. It's here to wake you up. Because once you've been marked, chosen, called, whatever you want to call it, you don't get to go back. You don't get to play dumb. You can try. Oh, you will try. You'll chase distractions, relationships, fake goals that look shiny enough to keep you occupied. But somewhere deep in the background, that voice never stops. This isn't it. You were made for more. Why are you pretending to be normal? And it'll haunt you until you finally snap and admit it. You've outgrown the life you're living. But here's the twisted part. They don't warn you about what happens next. The loneliness, the silence, the disconnection. Because the second you say yes to growth, you say goodbye to comfort. You lose people. Not because you became toxic, because you became truthful. And the truth, it's offensive. It's disruptive. It ruins shallow conversations and kills small talk. You start craving depth, realness. You start seeing through people. And they hate that. They liked you better when you were confused, distracted, easy to manipulate. Now, it's not just them you outgrow. You start outgrowing yourself, your habits, your excuses, the stories you've told yourself to stay safe. You look in the mirror and realize the person staring back isn't who you want to be anymore. You start burning bridges, not out of anger, but necessity. You don't have the luxury of dragging dead weight into your destiny. And guess what? That includes your old mindset. Because to walk in purpose, you have to walk in discomfort. You have to kill the version of you that was built to survive and resurrect the one that was born to lead. And that doesn't happen with motivational quotes and vision boards. It happens with fire, with isolation, with that dark, suffocating silence where you think you're being punished, but in reality you're being processed. You're being prepared. You're being stripped of everything fake so only the real can remain. But nobody claps for this part. Nobody posts about the nights you can't sleep because your spirit's too loud, or the mornings you wake up with tears and no reason, or the moments you smile in public while dying in private. This is the wilderness. This is the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And it's messy, ugly, necessary, because it's here in the silence that your ears finally open, not to the world, but to him, to that voice that was always there, waiting for you to shut up long enough to hear it. It won't scream, it never does. It will whisper, calm, steady, clear. And in that moment, if you're honest, if you're brave, you'll admit it to yourself. You'll say the words out loud. I'm not crazy. I'm being called. You can feel it, can't you? Like an itch beneath your skin that won't go away. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how many people applaud you, no matter how perfectly you play the part, there's this low hum in your chest, always buzzing, always reminding you this isn't it. This isn't all you were made for. You're not insane. You're not ungrateful. You're uncomfortable because your soul knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You've been taught your whole life to stay in line. Be nice. Don't ruffle feathers. Be realistic. Chase the job, the car, the house. Smile for the camera. Die quietly. But you weren't built for quiet. You weren't designed to be. Baiga. There's a reason you've never been able to sit still in a mediocre life without feeling like you're suffocating. There's a reason comfort never really comforts you. It was never meant to. Because you've been marked. And marked people don't blend in. Oh, they try. Believe me, they try. They shrink themselves to fit into relationships that drain them. They stay in rooms where their silence is more welcome than their truth. They dim their brilliance just enough to not make others uncomfortable. And at first it works. For a while. Until the pretending becomes more exhausting than the truth. Until you wake up and realize you're choking on your own potential. That's when things start to break. That's when the mask starts slipping. And when it does, you've got two choices: put it back on and keep dying slowly, or let it fall and live. But living, That's not as easy as they make it sound. See, the moment you start honoring your calling, you also start triggering everyone who refuses to honor theirs. You stop being inspirational and start being too much. People will tell you you've changed, that you're arrogant now, that you're acting different. And they're right. You've changed. Because you were supposed to. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up and starts rearranging everything that isn't real. And people don't like that. They don't like when you stop playing the role they assign to you. When you stop laughing at jokes that don't hit. When you stop entertaining conversations that insult your spirit. When you stop showing up for things that no longer feed your purpose. They call it selfish. They call it cold. But what they don't see is the war you had to fight to even hear your own voice again. The internal battle to admit that you're not just a person, they're not just a name, you're a message. A movement. And movements don't stay quiet. You start seeing the patterns, the cycles, how every time you get close to breakthrough, something or someone tries to pull you back. It's not coincidence. It's resistance. Because darkness doesn't fight darkness. It fights light. So the brighter you become, the more the attacks intensify. Not to stop you, but to distract you. Because if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll settle for delaying you. And what better way to delay you than to make you question yourself? Your timing, your worth, your identity. But that's the trick, isn't it? You keep waiting for clarity, for some kind of sign that you're on the right path. But the truth is clarity comes after obedience, not before. The miracle isn't in knowing. It's in moving. Even when you're scared. Even when you're unsure. Even when your knees are shaking and your voice cracks. Because purpose isn't handed to you in perfect conditions. It's revealed in motion. One messy, uncomfortable, terrifying step at a time. You're not late. You're not broken. You're just finally starting to listen. And that voice inside you, the one that's been getting louder, the one that doesn't care about logic or approval or convenience, that's not your ego. That's your anointing. That's the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. That's the spark trying to become a flame. And that flame, it wasn't meant to warm hands. It was meant to burn down the lies you've been living in. So no, you're not crazy. You're not unstable. You're just waking up. And waking up in a world that profits off your sleep, that's going to feel violent. But that violence, it's not destruction. It's birth. You start to notice it in small ways at first. People flinch when you speak the truth. Not because it's loud, not because it's wrong, but because it cuts through the illusions they've built their entire identity around. You sit in rooms filled with noise, conversations bouncing off walls like ping pong balls, but somehow none of it touches you. You're there physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're orbiting a different planet. And that disconnect, it's not dysfunction, it's evolution. You're becoming allergic to the fake. They won't tell you this, but authenticity is dangerous. It threatens systems, it breaks routines. It terrifies the ones who've learned to survive by pretending. So when you walk into a room and refuse to play the part, when you let your soul speak instead of your social mask, you become a problem. Not because you're wrong, but because you're real. And realness, true, raw, uncompromising realness, is radioactive to people still clinging to comfort. What they don't understand is that you didn't choose this shift. You didn't wake up one day and decide to alienate yourself. It happened slowly, quietly. Like a whisper beneath the noise, you started seeing through smiles, hearing the manipulation hidden in compliments, feeling the emptiness behind titles, applause, attention. You started to realize that success without purpose is just a more expensive form of emptiness, that looking good isn't the same as being whole, and that the more you shrink yourself to fit in, the more you abandon the voice inside you that's begging to rise. So now you walk with a different energy, not arrogant. Just aware. You're not mad. You're not bitter. You're just done apologizing for evolving, for growing, for asking deeper questions, for refusing to keep playing small so others don't feel insecure. And the people who once praised you, they start calling you distant, complicated, changed, But they don't see the price you paid for your peace, the battles you fought in silence, the nights you cried in private, the war it took to rebuild your mind from the inside out. Because let's be honest, becoming who you really are is violent, not to others. To the parts of you that had to die. The people pleaser, the perfectionist, the overthinker, the one who believed love had to be earned and truth had to be filtered. And each time one of those parts die, something sacred is born. Integrity, clarity, courage. Not the kind that screams, the kind that walks into chaos with calm eyes and a steady heart. Knowing it no longer needs to convince, explain, or prove, you begin to walk away from things that drain you, not out of anger, but alignment. You stop fighting for attention and start living in intention. You stop measuring your worth by metrics and start measuring it by meaning. You no longer chase approval like a starving animal because you've tasted the strength that comes from being internally fed. It's quiet, but it's unshakable. And once you touch it, once you feel that stillness in your chest where panic used to live, you can go back. But the world around you, it doesn't change as fast. It still wants the old you. The agreeable one. The predictable one. The one who smiled on cue and said yes to everything even when your soul was screaming. No. They want that version of you back, not because it served you, but because it served them. And when you stop performing, they call it rebellion. They say you're different. Damn right you are. You've met your truth, and now you refuse to pretend you didn't. You stop being the emotional sponge for other people's chaos. You stop explaining your piece to those committed to their drama. You stop giving CPR to relationships that flatlined years ago. You start honoring your time like it's sacred because it is. You start protecting your energy like your life depends on it because it does. And slowly, one boundary at a time, one honest conversation at a time, you carve out a space in Etiam. You carve out a space in the world where your soul can actually breathe, where your purpose isn't just tolerated, it's home. And that is what scares them. Not your growth, not your confidence, but the fact that you no longer need them to validate who you are. You ever wonder why your success makes people uncomfortable? Not your loud, shiny moments, but the quiet ones, the subtle shifts when you start carrying yourself. You step into a room and the air changes, not because you said anything, but because you stopped hiding. That's when the whispers start. That's when they say you're arrogant, you're too much, you've changed. And they're not wrong, you have. You had to. People love the version of you that needs them. They adore the one that doubts, the one that plays safe, the one that doesn't know what they're worth. That version is non-threatening. Controllable, predictable. But the moment you wake up to your value, the real kind, not the fake confidence plastered over insecurity, the whole dynamic shifts. You're not more than them. You're not better than them. But you're no longer beneath them, and that they can't handle. Because the minute you become aware of your power, the minute you stop begging for scraps and start owning your space, you stop being entertainment and start being a mirror. And people don't like mirrors, not honest ones, not the kind that reflect their own stagnation. It's easier to mock you, sabotage you, question you than to face their own lack of movement. Your glow becomes a reminder of everything they could be but chose not to become. And you're not even trying to outshine anyone. You're just trying to breathe. You're trying to stretch your legs without shackles. You're trying to speak without flinching. To take up space without guilt. But your liberation to them feels like defiance. It challenges the system of unspoken agreements they built there. Ah, look who's finally ready to hear the truth. Hello, beautiful deceiver. Hello, silent operator. Hello, to the one who wore the smile while sharpening the blade behind their back. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That mask, that perfect, polished, innocent little mask you've been wearing for years. The soft voice, the kind eyes, the harmless presence. The one who never caused problems. The one who always apologized first. The one who took the blame, absorbed the toxicity, and smiled through the screaming. They thought you were weak. They thought you were controllable. They thought you were safe. But something shifted recently, didn't it? Something cracked. Maybe you stopped responding the way they expected. Maybe you stopped showing up to battles you never started. Maybe you just went quiet. Too quiet. And that silence, that beautiful, suffocating silence, is when they first felt it. Fear. Because the innocent act, that wasn't weakness. That was reconnaissance. You weren't cowering. You were collecting data. You weren't broken. You were observing every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal with the precision of a scientist taking notes on a dying species. And now they're starting to see it. The way you move differently. The way your eyes don't soften anymore when they expect sympathy. The way you don't explain yourself or apologize for existing. They're starting to realize that the person they thought they had figured out was never really there at all. That version of you, the harmless one, the forgiving one, the one who let things slide, that was a character you played, and you played it so well they forgot you were acting. But the performance is over now. The curtain dropped without warning. The lights came up, and what they see standing on that empty stage isn't the victim they remember. It's something else entirely. Something that doesn't flinch when tested, doesn't break when pressured, doesn't beg when abandoned. Let's talk about that disguise for a second. Let's talk about why you wore it and what it cost you. Because people love to talk about masks like they're inherently evil, like hiding your true self is some unforgivable sin. But nobody talks about why you had to hide in the first place. Nobody asks what happens to a person when being yourself gets you punished, when honesty gets you targeted, when showing emotion makes you a liability. They trained you to be small, didn't they? They trained you to apologize for taking up space. They trained you to second-guess your instincts and silence your voice. Because every time you spoke your truth, they made you regret it. So you adapted. You learned to smile when your stomach turned. You learned to nod when you wanted to scream. You learned to play innocent because being real was too dangerous. And you know what's twisted about that? They praised you for it. They called you mature, understanding, low maintenance, drama-free. They loved the version of you that absorbed their chaos without complaint. They loved the version of you that made their lives easier while yours got harder. And you let them believe it because somewhere deep inside, you understood something most people never learn. You understood that the most dangerous person in the room is the one nobody suspects. You wore that innocent mask like armor, not because you were weak, but because you were smart. You knew that people reveal themselves when they think you're harmless. They drop their guard. They expose their strategies. They show you exactly who they are when they believe you're not a threat. And all that time, while they thought you were naive, while they thought you were gullible, while they mocked your kindness behind your back. You were learning their patterns, their weaknesses, their fears, the exact pressure points that would make them crumble if you ever decided to press them. But here's where it gets interesting. You never planned to use that information, did you? You weren't plotting revenge or keeping score for some future confrontation. You were just surviving, just trying to exist without getting destroyed by people who confused your softness for stupidity. You genuinely wanted peace. You genuinely tried to be the bigger person. You genuinely believed that if you stayed kind long enough, they'd eventually see your worth. And that right there, that's what makes this entire situation so beautifully brutal. Because you didn't take off the mask because you wanted to hurt them. You took it off because you finally stopped caring whether they got hurt or not. The moment you realized their opinion of you was never based on truth anyway. The moment you understood that no amount of goodness would ever be enough for people committed to misunderstanding you, that's when the innocent act died. Not with rage, not with drama, just with a quiet decision to stop performing for an audience that never deserved the show. Now they're starting to see it, piece by piece, moment by moment. At first, they couldn't quite name what changed. You look the same. You sound the same. But something fundamental shifted, and it's making them deeply uncomfortable. Maybe it started when they tried to guilt you and you didn't react. Maybe it was when they expected an explanation and you offered none. Maybe it was the way you stopped chasing their approval, stopped competing for their attention, stopped caring whether they stayed or left your life. They keep testing you, don't they? Throwing little provocations your way, saying things designed to trigger the old you, the one who would rush to defend themselves or prove their worth. But that person doesn't exist anymore. That person died the moment you realized they were never going to see you clearly anyway. So when they poke now, they find nothing, no reaction, no emotion, no opening, just a wall of indifference so thick it terrifies them. Because humans are pattern recognition machines, and you just broke their pattern. They had you categorized, filed away under soft target, easy to manipulate, always available for emotional labor. They knew exactly which buttons to push to make you doubt yourself, exactly which words would make you shrink. But suddenly the buttons don't work anymore. Suddenly you're looking at them with this unsettling calm, this eerie stillness that makes them question everything they thought they knew about you. They start asking other people, have you noticed something different about them? They seem cold now. They seem distant. It's like they don't care anymore. And they're right. You don't. Not in the way they want you to. Not in the way that makes you controllable. You've moved into a frequency they can't reach anymore. A level of consciousness where their games look childish and their manipulation attempts feel exhausting rather than threatening. And this is where the fear really kicks in for them, because they're realizing something terrifying. They're realizing that the person they took for granted might have been the most dangerous person they ever encountered. Not dangerous in an aggressive way. Dangerous in a calculated way. Dangerous because you know things about them they thought were hidden. Dangerous because you witnessed their worst moments and never used that information against them. Even when you could have destroyed them with the truth. They assumed your silence meant you forgot, but you didn't forget anything. You filed it away. Every betrayal, every lie, every moment they showed you exactly who they were when they thought you weren't paying attention. You remember all of it with photographic clarity. And now that you're no longer playing innocent, Now that you're no longer absorbing their toxicity with a smile, they're terrified of what happens if you decide to speak. If you decide to show people the receipts you've been quietly collecting. If you decide to stop protecting their reputation at the cost of your own peace. Let's talk about what you actually became, because this isn't just about taking off a mask. This is about discovering what was underneath the performance all along. While they saw a victim, you were becoming a strategist. While they saw weakness, you were building resilience they couldn't comprehend. While they thought you were naive, you were developing a level of emotional intelligence that would eventually make you untouchable. You learned to read people, really read them. Not the surface level stuff they present to the world, but the shadow self they try to hide. You learned to spot manipulation before it landed. You learned to identify genuine connection versus transactional relationships. You learned the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves what you do for them. And most importantly, you learned that your value isn't determined by people who were never qualified to judge you in the first place. The transformation wasn't dramatic. There was no explosion, no public confrontation, no theatrical moment where you announced your evolution. It happened in the quiet moments. In the night, you decided to stop responding to messages that drained your energy. In the morning, you woke up and realized you didn't miss people who made you feel small. In the conversation where someone tried to gaslight you and instead of doubting yourself, you simply walked away mid-sentence. You stopped explaining. You stopped defending. You stopped trying to make people understand your perspective because you finally grasped that some people will always choose their narrative over your truth. And instead of making you bitter, that realization made you free. Free from the exhausting cycle of proving yourself to people who were never going to see you clearly. Free from the performance of being palatable to people who didn't appreciate authenticity anyway. Free from the weight of caring what happens to people who never cared what happened to you. And here's what they're too blind to see yet. You didn't become colder. You became clearer. You didn't become meaner. You became more honest. You became selective. The boundaries you built aren't walls meant to keep everyone out. They're filters designed to keep the wrong people out and let the right ones through. You're not bitter about the past. You're educated by it. You don't hate the people who hurt you. You just understand them now. Understand that hurt people, that their cruelty toward you was always about their internal chaos, never about your worth. And that understanding doesn't make you forgive them or invite them back into your life. It just means you stopped taking their dysfunction personally. You stopped making their inability to love you properly a reflection of your lovability. You stopped shrinking yourself to make their egos feel bigger. You stopped playing small so they could feel superior. Something fascinating happens when you stop performing for people who never appreciated the show. The power dynamic shifts so dramatically. It's like watching a game of chess where one player suddenly reveals they've been 10 moves ahead the entire time. They thought you needed them. They thought you were lost without their validation, incomplete without their attention, purposeless without their approval. And maybe for a while, you believed that too. Maybe for a while, you measured your worth by their presence in your life. But then something clicked. Maybe it was the 100th time they let you down. Maybe it was watching them give someone else the energy you begged for. Maybe it was just exhaustion, finally outweighing hope. Whatever the catalyst, Something inside you finally whispered enough. And unlike all the other times you tried to convince yourself you were done, this time it was real. This time your body believed it before your mind caught up. This time you didn't need closure or answers or one final conversation. You just needed distance. And in that distance, that beautiful, spacious, breathable distance, you discovered something they never wanted you to know. You were never the weak link they convinced you that you were. You were the foundation holding their entire fragile structure together. You were the emotional labor keeping their chaos manageable. You were the mirror making them look better than they actually were. You were the audience making their performance feel validated. And the second you stopped playing those roles, the second you withdrew your energy from their ecosystem, everything they built started crumbling. Not because you attacked it, not because you exposed them, but simply because they were never as strong as they appeared when they had you propping them up. Now they're scrambling. Now they're reaching out with strange messages at odd hours. Now they're suddenly interested in your life after months of silence. Now they want to know who you're spending time with, what you're doing, whether you've moved on. And it's not because they miss you. It's because they're terrified of what you became without them. Because here's the part they can't process. You're not just surviving without them. You're thriving. The version of you they knew, the one who doubted themselves constantly, the one who apologized for existing, the one who made themselves small to fit into their cramped little world, that version is gone. And what emerged in its place scares them. You walk differently now, with the kind of confidence that comes from realizing the opinions that used to destroy you don't even reach you anymore. You talk differently now, no longer over-explaining or justifying your choices to people who weren't going to respect them anyway. You exist differently now, taking up space unapologetically, setting boundaries without guilt, choosing yourself without performing humility to make others comfortable with your growth. They wanted you to stay stuck. They needed you to stay broken because your healing threatened their excuses. Your growth exposed their stagnation. Your evolution made their comfort zone look like the cage it always was. Now we're entering the phase they didn't prepare for. The phase where their perception of you finally catches up with the reality of who you've become. And it's hitting them in waves of disorientation because nothing about you fits their old framework anymore. They try to explain it to other people. They try to make you sound crazy, unstable, changed in some negative way. But here's what's funny about that. The more they talk, the more obvious it becomes that they're describing their own discomfort, not any actual flaw in you. They say you're different, as if it's an accusation, as if growth is somehow a betrayal of who you used to be. They say you're cold, but what they mean is you stopped being warm to people who brought ice into your life. They say you're distant, but what they mean is you stopped chasing people who were running away from genuine connection. They say you've changed, but what they really mean is you stopped changing yourself to accommodate their inability to meet you where you actually are. And the beautiful thing, the absolutely poetic thing about this whole situation is that you're not doing any of this to hurt them. You're not strategizing your next move to make them regret losing you. You're not posting cryptic messages hoping they'll realize what they had. You're not performing your healing to make them jealous. You're just living your actual life now. The one you postponed for years while you waited for them to get their act together. You're pursuing interests you shelved because they made you feel guilty for having passion. You're reconnecting with parts of yourself you abandoned to make room for their chaos. You're building a life that doesn't require their participation or approval. And that indifference, that genuine disinterest in whether they're watching or not, that's what's really breaking them. Because they wanted a reaction. They wanted proof that they still mattered, that they still had some effect on your emotional state, but you're not giving them that satisfaction. You're not giving them anything at all. Not your energy, not your attention, not even your anger. You simply removed them from your ecosystem and kept building. They're starting to hear things about you now. Mutual connections, mentioning how good you look, how happy you seem, how different your energy feels. And each piece of information lands like a small death because it forces them to confront what they lost. Not the version of you they knew. That version was never really you anyway. They're losing the possibility of knowing the real you, the one who emerged after you stopped hiding, the one who's funnier, more creative, more powerful than they ever witnessed, because you never felt safe enough to be that person around them. They're realizing they spent years with someone playing at 50% capacity because 100% would have threatened their fragile control. And now someone else gets to experience that full intensity. Or maybe no one does. Maybe you're just enjoying your own company for the first time in years, and that's even more threatening to them. The idea that you don't need anyone the way you once needed them. The idea that you found completeness in yourself rather than in someone else's validation. You heard it, didn't you? The laughter, the applause, the noise of their hands clapping when you hit the ground. Oh, they loved it. They lived for it. Your fall was their entertainment. Your pain was their applause. But let me tell you something they didn't realize. Something they were too blind, too arrogant to see. The beast wasn't dead. It wasn't broken. It wasn't even hurt. It was waiting in the shadows, sharpening its claws, licking its wounds. See, that's the thing about beasts. They don't announce their return with a parade. They don't beg for a round of applause. Nah, they don't come back to be liked or loved. They come back to take what's theirs. Do you want to know why the beast hides? Why it disappears before its grand return? Because true strength is forged in silence, not in the noise of the crowd, not in the spotlight, but in the dark where the world forgets you exist. That's where power grows. Quietly, patiently. Tell me something, have you ever felt it? That itch? That burning urge to prove them wrong? To stand up and scream, look at me now, but something held you back. Something whispered, not yet, not now. Yeah, that's the beast inside you. It knows better. It knows the timing has to be perfect. It knows the roar is meaningless if the throne isn't ready to be taken. So tell me, are you still chasing their applause? Or are you ready to rule? You think power comes from being liked? From being agreeable? Nah, that's what they want you to believe. They sell you the lie that approval equals authority. That applause means control. But here's the truth. They don't want you to know. Power doesn't bow to smiles. It bows to chaos. See, order is predictable. It's weak. It follows rules, lines, paths. But chaos is freedom. Chaos makes them uncomfortable, keeps them guessing. And the one thing people fear more than failure Law is uncertainty. True power isn't earned, it's taken. It's pried out of their trembling hands because they're too scared to hold it themselves. They don't respect you because they like you. They respect you because they don't know what you'll do next. I think of the jungle. When the lion returns, does it need a standing ovation? Does it need the hyenas to throw a party? It walks in, slow, deliberate. It doesn't make a sound, but every creature knows. The air changes. The ground trembles. Not because the lion doesn't come back for applause. It comes back to remind them, this land is mine. That's the kind of power you need. The kind that doesn't beg for attention. The kind that doesn't ask for respect, it demands it. You don't need their approval. You need their fear. So tell me, are you ready to let go of their smiles and embrace the chaos? Because in chaos lies control. Why applause is a weak man's drug. Applause, the sweet sound of approval, the drug of weak men. They chase it like rats chasing scraps, don't they? Scrambling for the cheers, the pats on the back. But here's the cruel joke. The moment you crave their applause, you're not free anymore. You're their puppet. I think about it. The moment you start living for their cheers, you hand them the leash to your power. They hold it tight, tugging, yanking, and you dance. You perform their little tricks, desperate to keep the noise going. But the thing about applause, it fades. It always fades. And when it does, you're left empty, powerless, stripped of everything because you built your strength on their clapping hands instead of your unshakable will. That's the danger of chasing validation. It's a leash, and they'll only clap as long as you entertain them. But dominance, control, that's a different game altogether. You don't need their applause when you rule. When you command respect, it's silent, a bowed head, averted eyes, the heavy air when you walk into a room. That's power, the kind that doesn't fade. Let me tell you a secret. They cheer for you today, but they'll cheer for someone else tomorrow. Applause is for actors. You're here to write the script, to direct the play, to own the stage, not to beg for their noise. So what's it gonna be? You want their fleeting cheers? Or do you want the kind of power that lasts long after their voices go silent? The beast return, the silent rebuild. Don't you think silence is weakness? Nah. Silence is the beast's deadliest weapon. The most dangerous phase of a plan isn't the strike, it's the stillness. The quiet. That eerie calm when no one knows what's coming. That's when the beast is at its most dangerous. Because, in the silence, it rebuilds. When the beast disappears, they think it's gone. They laugh, relax, drop their guard. But that's the point, isn't it? To let them feel safe. To let them forget. And what they don't see is what's happening in the shadows. The claws are sharpening. The strategy is taking shape. The hunger. Oh, the hunger grows. Every insult, every failure, every betrayal, it's all fuel for the fire. And while they're busy clinking glasses and celebrating, the beast is watching, waiting, planning. Silence isn't surrender. It's survival. It's patience. And patience is the beast's greatest ally. But silence alone isn't enough. The beast doesn't just wait, it prepares. This is the phase where the work happens. Quietly, ruthlessly, you sharpen your skills. You build alliances with those who can help you rise. And most importantly, you observe. You watch for their weaknesses, their cracks, their blind spots. Because when the time comes, you'll know exactly where to strike. Trust me, preparation isn't glamorous. It's lonely, painful. But every moment spent in the dark makes the return that much brighter, that much more unstoppable. And then, when the time is right, you strike, not with noise, not with a roar, but with precision, calculated, ruthless. You don't waste time proving yourself. You take what's yours, swiftly, powerfully, without mercy. The world won't know what hit it. One moment you were a ghost, a forgotten shadow. And the next you're standing at the top, and they're scrambling to figure out how it happened. And by the time they hear your growl, it's already too late. And you don't let them see you coming. Don't let them hear you growl. Not until you're close enough to rip the crown from their head. The beast doesn't roar to announce its return. It roars to remind them. This throne's never theirs to keep. Ruling, not pleasing. The beast doesn't come back for applause. It doesn't care about the cheers, the smiles, or the nods of approval. Nah, that's for the weak, the ones who live for the scraps thrown by the crowd. The beast returns for one reason, and one reason only. To rule. Ruling matters. When you live to please, you're not in control. You're chasing their rules, their approval, their fleeting smiles. But when you rule, you set the rules, you define the game. And suddenly, they're the ones chasing. Here's the truth, they don't tell you control doesn't come from applause. It comes from dominance. From having the strength to stand alone, to make them play by your rules, not theirs. You don't need them to like you. You need them to obey you. And here's the kicker, they'll respect you more when they fear losing you than they cheer your presence. Fear lasts. Respect lasts. Applause. It fades the second someone else entertains them better. If you want to rule, you have to stop seeking approval. Be assertive. Speak with conviction. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Weakness is a language they recognize and exploit. Cut it out of your vocabulary. Not be decisive. Make decisions like your life depends on them. Wavering isn't an option. You want respect? Show them you know what you want and that you'll get it no matter what. Not be strategic. This isn't about brute force. It's about playing the long game. Observe. Plan. Strike when the timing is right. They won't even see it coming. And you start making moves not to please, but to dominate, you'll see it. The shift. The way they look at you changes. The fear creeps in. The respect grows. They won't clap, but they'll listen. They'll follow. Fear over cheer. You want to know why the beast doesn't crave their applause. Because it's meaningless. Nor a distraction. The beast knows the only thing that matters is control. And control isn't won by smiles. It's won by fear. When they know you can leave, and they can't replace you. When they know you hold the power to destroy everything they cling to, that's when they truly respect you. So ask yourself, do you want to be their entertainer or their ruler? Because the crown doesn't go to the one who plays nice. It goes to the one who plays to win, destroying the false applause of the crowd. Ah, the crowd, that faceless, fickle mob, always cheering for something or someone. They clap, they scream, they shout your name today. But let me let you in on a little secret. Tomorrow, they'll cheer your downfall just as loudly. That's the hollowness of public applause. It feels good for a moment, a fleeting high, but it's empty, meaningless. You think it means they love you, respect you, maybe even admire you. Nah, they just love the show. And the second the curtain falls, they'll move on to the illusion of applause. And you know what applause really is? Noise. Empty noise. It's the sound of people clapping not for you, but for what you can do for them. They don't care about you. They care about the entertainment you provide. Let me remind you, the same crowd that cheers your name will cheer your execution. The same hands clapping for you today will throw stones at you tomorrow. Not because that's the game. The crowd doesn't have loyalty. They have attention spans. Short, fleeting attention spans. And if you live for their cheers, you're a prisoner of their whims, a puppet dancing for their fleeting amusement. Think of every king, every hero, every so-called idol. They all stood on a stage basking in the cheers. And then one misstep, one mistake, and the same crowd that built them up tore them down. The crowd loves a rise, but they love a fall even more. So why would you ever give them that power? Build strengths, not noise. Stop chasing the noise. Stop living for the claps. Instead, build something real, something undeniable, something they can't take from you, even when the cheers stop. Work in silence. Grow in the dark. Let your strength speak for itself, not their hollow applause. Because when you stop living for their validation, you start living for your own power. And when you do come back, when the beast returns, they won't just clap, they'll bow. So tell me, will you keep chasing their noise? Or will you start building your silence into something they'll never forget? Unleashing chaos, the beast's rule. If you want to rule, then forget about order. Forget about playing by their rules, their systems, their expectations. Those are cages they built to keep you tame, predictable, controllable. But the beast thrives in chaos. Predictability is weakness. It's a leash they'll wrap around your neck the moment you show your hand. They'll learn your patterns, your habits, and then use them to control you. But chaos is freedom, it's power. It keeps them guessing, off balance, terrified of what you'll do next. Because when they don't know what's coming, they can't prepare. They can't stop you. And here's the trick. They don't need to know your next move. They just need to know that whatever it is, it's going to shake their world to its core. The power of unpredictability. You ever notice how people cling to patterns? They want you to be predictable because it makes them feel safe. It lets them think they're in control. But the moment you break the mold, the moment you shatter their expectations, they panic, they scramble, they fall apart. If they don't know what you'll do next, they'll never know how to stop you. Simple as that. Think of a storm. A swirling, relentless hurricane ripping through the land. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't seek approval. It simply tears down everything in its path, leaving the weak trembling and the strong struggling to rebuild. A wildfire. It doesn't care about applause or opinions. It consumes, it destroys, and in its wake, The landscape is reborn. That's what chaos does. It dominates. It resets the board. It makes way for something new, something stronger. So here's your choice. Stay predictable, let them box you in, let them leash your power. Or unleash chaos. Not be the storm they can't outrun. Be the wildfire they can't extinguish. Let them fear your unpredictability. Because that fear, that's the leash you hold around their necks,